Fit for Life Radio, episode number 148. Your hosts, Gary and Will.
What is up?
We're here today talking about carbs and how they can help improve your sleep.
We're talking carbs, baby.
Carbohydrates, the boogeyman.
Whoever was responsible for that.
Made out to be the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Carbs are all problem. So what happens is, and you're probably familiar, so most people, when we're just doing whatevs, eat plenty of carbs, but then we eat in the form of chips, donuts, pizzas, which is also
Oreos.
Not just carbs. Yeah, Oreos. Not just carbs. It's a combination of carbs and fats, and it's essentially calorie bombs. And when we eat too much, and when we eat a bunch more than we need, these calorie bombs, that's going to cause us to gain weight. It's going to cause digestive distress. It's going to cause a bunch of issues. It's going to cause blood sugar roller coasters. Yeah, so understand that's separate, right?
Yeah, we're not talking about crushing 4 donuts before you go to bed.
But this is one scenario. That's most people's reality. Then when you're like, hey, I'm going to eat gooder. I'm going to eat gooder. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to be healthy.
What's the first thing people do?
They like, I got to eliminate all carbs.
I got to cut out carbs.
I've been eating a bunch of carbs.
Carbs make me fat.
So then what gets lumped in with all these other things, is your regular carbs that are just pure carbs, right? Like fruit, grains.
Potatoes of any kind.
Starchy veggies, things like that. There's no bueno, right? So then people, when they're eating gooder, they're like basically trying to eliminate all carbs. And then what do you notice happens? You feel cranky. You have crappy mood. You can't sleep. You're hangry. Guess what? There's, I guess you could say, chemical reasoning for these things, right?
Yeah.
Because carbs are not just this bad boogeyman. They provide lots of benefits, right? And we're going to explain some of those to you, and then how you can use carbs as a tool to help with your sleep and to navigate our modern food environment, right? And our modern world, in that most of us are, in today's society, are stress driven. We live in a fight or flight state.
Just overstimulated to the max.
Sympathetic, yeah. And then when you take out something like carbohydrates, completely eliminate them, you're probably going to make yourself stuck in that state even more so, because carbohydrates can be anti-stress.
Yeah, well, I like to think about them almost as like, because cortisol, I think most people maybe know, that at least that listen, is like the stress hormone. And I like to think about like carbs as balancing out your cortisol. Like when you have carbs, it does bring cortisol in line a little bit more. And it's not, of course, that simple because there's other stuff involved. But it is a good way, good simplistic way to think about it.
Yeah, and honestly, it can be that simple, because the other boogeyman is insulin, right? People act like, insulin's all bad, right? Well, tell that to a type 1 diabetic.
Yeah.
Who's like, if they don't have their insulin, they die. They lose limbs, right?
That's it.
So you need insulin. And insulin is kind of the anti-cortisol, right? So when we eat carbs and then our body releases insulin, it actually kind of counteracts cortisol. So then, that's why when you do eat carbs, you do feel relaxed. You do maybe feel sleepy and sedated, right? Because it also, when we eat carbohydrates, leads to serotonin in our brain.
That feel good.
Right? And serotonin makes us feel good and helps us relax, right? So you see how carbohydrates can be a strategic tool against what most of us struggle with, which is high stress, high anxiety, always being in the sympathetic fight or flight mode, right? So now that you kind of understand kind of chemically what's going on when we eat carbs, and the two main factors, which is serotonin, help us relax, feel good, and then the insulin from the carbs helping to balance and counter cortisol, So we can take this a step further and be like, when would we prefer these actions the most?
Yeah.
Well, when we're sitting at home at night trying to get to sleep, right? So if you, in the context of appropriate overall food calorie intake, so you're like meeting your needs, you're not going over, which again, like we said, can cause a lot of digestive distress. You're eating majority minimally unprocessed foods. So you got those boxes checked, then yes, save some of those calories, save some of those portions of your day for carbohydrates in your evening meal, because it's going to help start this cascade of events that helps us possibly fall asleep easier and stay asleep. Because the third thing is our brain runs on glucose. And a lot of people who struggle with maybe like waking up at like 2 a.m. or whatever, it can be from two things. If you eat a bunch of like high glycemic carbs, so you're gonna be more on this roll. So
they burn really quickly.
Yeah, sugar and candy, you're gonna get these swings of blood sugar, and then once, and you'll, like Will said, you'll burn through them real quickly. You run out of glucose. Your body then, that's kind of stressful for your brain. Boom, cortisol release that wakes us up. And again, we did not touch on this, but yeah, that is what naturally wakes us up in the morning. So that's where cortisol's not like,
it's not the boogeyman.
The boogeyman either. We need it for certain things, and yeah, it helps wake us up, but we don't want to wake up at 2 a.m.
Yeah, you want to wake up at your normal wake time, 5, 6, 7 a.m., whatever that is.
So providing some glucose, it kind of slow releases through the night. So if you use like a, more lower glycemic carbohydrate, or carbohydrate paired with like some protein and fiber, that can help with that.
Yeah, it'll digest way slower, so you don't get that sudden like, oh crap, we ran out.
Yeah, your brain's getting fueled throughout the night essentially.
Yeah.
So have a little bit of carbs with your meal. So something like, a lean protein, some veggies, and like a good starting place is like 50 grams of carbohydrates. So like a cup of like cooked starch, so like a cup of sweet potatoes or a cup of rice with a little bit of fruit, or 2 or 3 pieces of fruit. Some kind of like carb around that like 50-gram amount. And see how that feels. See how you fall asleep. See how you stay asleep. For most people, they notice, a benefit.
Yeah. It's funny how most people probably have an idea of this, because after people eat like a carb-heavy meal, they'll be like, oh my God, I'm going to go into a carb coma, right? Because you get a little bit sleepy after a pretty big hit of carbs. And, that might not be something you want after your breakfast when you're getting going and getting ready for work. But, like, when you're winding down at night, like, that's the perfect thing.
Yep.
Like, how do I just, slide myself into this relaxed state? Well, a quote-unquote carb coma, and I'm not saying to, crush 400 grams of carbs, but can help a lot, just getting you to that state. And I think most people do need that nowadays.
Yeah. And for me, I've tested it both ways and multiple times. And yet, if I'm working with more calories, like maintaining, gaining phase, then I have plenty of carbs. It's easy to have them in dinner. But even if I'm, say, my calories are lower, maybe I'm cutting or something, I still then, will lower calories earlier in the day so that I can keep carbs in my dinner, because it helps keep my sleep consistent and good.
I feel like you've always done that, at least for years.
Yeah,
always preferred a more carb-heavy dinner.
Yeah, and when I don't, and then I'm sitting there like hungry, or before bed, or just kind of like a protein and fat-only meal, I just struggle to get to sleep and have deep sleep, staying asleep throughout the night.
Yeah.
Right. So, and again, I am more like stress cortisol driven. So especially if you're wired like that, you should probably have carbs with most of your meals.
Yeah, I agree.
So throughout the day, you're balancing this natural state where you tend to be cortisol driven, stress driven. So you'll probably notice you have more steady, where like a good place where you want to be. So
yeah, it helps me, and we touched on it with fasting, like intermittent fasting in general. I think last episode, where you just when you're not eating, period, you get that kind of cortisol, adrenaline hit, and not eating carbs for a lot of people can have the same type of effect.
Yeah. And really, where most people go wrong is, that's why you can't enter this all or nothing mindset
Yeah.
or enter into dieting without truly understanding and learning about food, right? And learning, you need to stop labeling things as good or bad. You need to stop kind of like following the headlines and realize that, it can be used as different things as tools, right? So, in all food, right? Just like fat. Like fat is, yes, it's calorie dense, but also you can pair fat in your meals to help slow down the digestion, so you have less blood sugar swings. It's good a certain amount for hormonal reasons, right? Protein, same thing, right? Super satiating, helps stabilize blood sugars. You need it to rebuild tissue. It all has like,
There's a benefit to it all.
yeah, and for most things too, too much of it all has problems as well, right? Too much of water, too much of anything, not enough, is a problem. Too much is a problem, right? So same thing with carbohydrates, right? Like, yeah, you shouldn't eat unlimited carbohydrates with tons of fats and super hyper palatable foods where you end up overeating. Yeah, you're gonna feel like crap. Even, and like we said, don't take this and run with it and be like, they said have carbs before bed and I'll sleep better. And you have 3 bags of Hershey Kisses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
It's not going to do it, man.
and there's other factors too, with people have to realize, like, it's super nuanced. Oh, there's a bunch of caffeine in chocolate, right? Oh, so you did eat a bunch of, so it's a bunch of sugar. It's so super high glycemic food.
And you're having some caffeine
and
before
caffeine,
bed.
like you ain't sleeping good.
Yeah. So not
Um,
only do you have caffeine, you're about to get slapped by some cortisol mid-sleep if you do fall asleep.
Yeah.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's 1 scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out. If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's 1 scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
So yeah, it is nuanced. You have to kind of, for lack of better terms, like it's an experiment.
Yeah.
You know?
Try it.
You know, you in today's world, because food is basically, for most of us, available in unlimited amounts and types and forms. It's not just like we're like, the biggest problem is getting enough, and we just have to be thankful for what we do get. The reality is, like, there's so many options that we can kind of screw things up easily in different ways. So you need to bring some attention and awareness to it. And if you don't want to, like, people get so upset, like, what can't I just eat?
I mean, you can.
Yeah, you can, and that's what most people do.
Yeah.
And yeah, most people are overweight and obese and struggle with their sleep. That's the result of just not putting any awareness or thought and just doing whatever we want.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, you have to come to grips with that. You are truly ready to change. And guess what? And yeah, that change is going to require attention.
Always.
So, and then though, once you get it down, you get the outcome you want, you feel how you want, then it will
It's
eventually
easy.
become habit and easy. But like anything, there's a learning curve. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes experimenting. Very rarely works the first go, the first try, right? So, yeah. And I know for me, like, as an example, like my wife and I both, we have heavier carbohydrate dinners. We both sleep like babies, fall asleep, stay asleep. And yeah, normally, like lately, I'll normally have like meat and rice. And then after, dude, I haven't talked about this. This is it right here. Then after the dinner, so meat and rice. So I get whole milk and casein protein,
Ooh.
which is like
It's very slow digesting.
slow digesting and like thick, the texture of it.
Like a Frosty.
Bro, I just mix it with, so I did a few things, right? I did mix it with ice and frozen fruit, and like, it's pretty good. But dude, really just the casein
What flavor?
protein. I've done vanilla and chocolate. Both I like, mix it. But, and I mix it in the whole milk. Like, so I put it in one of those, like, it's just like the perfect shape for, it's, like, what are those? They're like cups of mason jar.
Yeah.
Yeah, mason jar. So I put in the casein protein, cup of whole milk, and then just stir it, bro. And it gets to like this thick. It's in between where you could kind of almost eat it with a spoon, and you can also drink it. So it's kind of like, milkshake. And it's just, it hits the spot. So basically every night, that's what I have is like meat and rice, and then that little milkshake with whole milk and
Damn.
the protein powder. And that's normally at like 6 to 7 p.m. Go to bed at like 9. But dude, I'm out. I'm fighting, man. I'm fighting 8, sometimes 8 o'clock, right? Like trying to stay awake. And then, Alexis, my wife, she's been on a kick with so scrambled eggs and sourdough toast. And then she puts like tomatoes on them and some like pickles or something. But yeah, she has like 3 slices of sourdough.
Pickles?
Yeah. So I don't know. And
Pickles with eggs. I'm going to try it, though, because I love both of them.
And 3 slices of sourdough toast. And yeah.
God, dude, I love sourdough bread.
So don't be afraid of the carbs, people.
Yeah, like they can work.
Yeah.
They can work with you. And I think part of it is and it's drilled into people's heads that carbs are just snacks instead of like a potato or oats or some type of rice or grain. And anytime we think about it, it's like carb, donut. And it's just not the reality.
Yeah.
That's not even just a carb.
Yeah.
It's probably more fat than carbs.
And here's a perfect example. Like sometimes on Saturday, if I have like a pint of like Ben and Jerry's or some ice cream like that before bed, dude, my sleep's awful.
Yeah.
You know, but I just whacked back like 1,000 calories of sugar and fat.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I must crash, right? I always wake up in the middle of the night. The next morning have a weird feeling, that almost hangover feeling.
That ice cream hangover.
Yeah, so it's from, that difference of
that stress sleep that you had.
and that's where like the little milkshake I make, and this is what you find over time. Like I almost prefer it because
you feel better.
It hits the spot of like cold, creamy, dairy-y. Mm-hmm. But then I feel better. Like I wake up fine. I sleep better. So it's almost like I'll go to reach for the ice cream and talk myself out of it. Not for anything to do with calories or like guilt or anything like that. Literally out of preference. for not just like how things taste, but also how they make me feel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is in a nutshell.
Just have some
What
carbs.
about you? What's your? I mean, you normally have carbs with.
So
your dinner.
yeah, I mean, normally we'll have, more often than not, we'll have rice with dinner. That's usually the common one, and I'll usually have about a cup, which is that's about 50 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
So I'll usually have about a cup, and sometimes it might be upwards of a cup and a half. Or we'll have potatoes, or even nights where maybe it's not as high of a carb meal, I'll have like a bowl of blueberries before bed. That's always been my go-to.
Some blues.
Is some bloobs. But I've always preferred those for the most part. So that's usually what. And we usually eat the same thing for dinner.
And to play off of that, some of the studies, there is maybe some benefit to making sure you have some fructose type carbs because fructose, so like fruit is half fructose and glucose and fructose. I think you can say it either way, fructose or fructose.
I think it's fructose.
But it's preferentially goes to the liver.
Yeah.
And refills our liver glycogen. So we have our body stores glycogen in our liver. Typically can store up to I think like 100 grams in our liver, and then like up to 400 grams ish in our muscles. So it either stores in our liver and our muscles. Liver glycogen goes directly to kind of fueling our brain. We talk about how the brain wants glycogen. So a lot of times too, if our liver glycogen runs out overnight, that too is when we wake up in this cortisol stress
the
response.
stressed state.
So you can preferentially make sure you're refilling your liver glycogen stores by having some fructose.
Just a little bit of fruit.
So fruit would do that. So if you have like rice, some starch, and some fruit, like that is probably a good combination.
Yep.
Or sweet potatoes is already kind of both. Like it has some fructose in it. So that's always a good choice. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of fruit before bed.
Before bed. My dog, so it's funny, like, dude, they don't forget nothing. Like I give them like 3 little blueberries, out of the bag while I'm standing by the fridge after dinner.
Next time you open him up, where's he at?
Now every
He's right
night
there.
he'll get his normal routine, get his treat, but then he's still like crying. I'm like, what do you want? You want to go outside? Nah, dude, he runs to the
He wants blueberries.
to by the freezer, and he wants the blueberries.
Dude, they get into a habit.
Yeah, and then Alexis, she always try to act all hard, all cold-hearted, like the Grinch.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, those are my blueberries, Well, last night I went, it was grocery days coming up, and she was kind of already out of fruit. Bro, I open it up. There's the bag of blueberries. Then open up the bag of blueberries. There's 3 blueberries in there. So she, she used what was left that day.
She left?
Like she makes her lunch in the morning, which is like yogurt and blueberries. And yeah, dude, she left those 3 little blueberries in there because she knows that he gets 3 blueberries at night. And I was like, look at you.
She cares.
Yeah.
She doesn't want you to know, though.
It's like when the Grinch ends up, what does he like end up liking Christmas or something like that in his little, does he end up
heart.
having a heart?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I told her.
It like unshrivels.
There they were.
Oh, man. Dude, this is no bearing on food, but we have a basket we keep above our laundry area that we put hangers and whatever in. This was probably, it had to be like 3 years ago. We had this rope. Somebody got it for Ringo, ended up having like a bunch of rubber on it, and all he wanted to do was eat the rubber. And we were like, we have to take this away from you. So we put it in this basket, right? Mind you, it's been years since it's been up there. And then eventually I just threw it away. Every single time Whitney takes the basket down, he has to go look inside of it. Every single time that she brings it down. And he hasn't missed a time. Like she'll bring it down and then look around, and he comes right over, looks in. Dude, nothing's been in there for 2 years.
Yep.
And they don't forget anything.
It's a strong pull.
He must have really liked whatever that was.
Yeah. Give him some carbs.
He gets blueberries.
So his serotonin will relax him.
He loves blueberries.
All right. So hopefully that, maybe someone tries that. Again, get your big rocks right first. Make sure your total intake portions, you're kind of where you need to be. And then, think about partitioning some of those portions of food some of those calories, saving them for carbohydrates in your evening meal. Other thing of note is you kind of want this to be like within, I don't like it like right before for most people, but like 1 to 4 hours within bed, whenever your bedtime is.
Which is pretty reasonable.
So
I
if
think.
you eat dinner like way early and you're gonna have this huge like 4-hour gap before you go to bed, then you'll probably want to try and have like a little protein and carb snack. Some oatmeal with protein powder or something like that is probably a good starting point. But yeah, and you stick to more highly or unprocessed foods, not highly
low
processed
glycemic
foods.
foods.
Low glycemic, or pairing it with protein and fiber, and see how it goes. Let us know. Don't be afraid of carbs.
Yeah,
They're
test
not-
it out.
There's, again, I almost think in today's world, because we do struggle with, this always on, always stressful state. The other thing we didn't even get into, which is a factor, is, we're really just trying to create this like circadian rhythm pattern, and sleep used to be highly regulated by light.
How much light you had in a day?
We didn't have lights at home. We didn't, so like when the sun came up, boom, we woke, and our body would go through the hormonal patterns to wake us up, and then there's light during the day, and then eventually the light goes away. Once the light goes away,
everything starts shutting down.
Start a cascade of events, and our body and melatonin would come out, and everything was strongly regulated by that. Well, now most people, you're not going to, be a hermit and like live by candlelight. So we have these factors working against us. So we kind of, hey, let's strategically use food, because while it is a curse, it is a gift, in that we do have basically all these different types of foods available to us at all times. So, hey, let's strategically use them instead of against us. We can strategically use it in our favor.
Yeah, let's make them help us when it feels like everything else is kind of working against us.
So use some of these, slower digesting carbohydrates in your favor. Target it. And and then you know what? When you're getting good sleep, I almost weigh all my decisions on
sleep.
What helps me get better sleep in managing stress.
Yeah.
That's why I don't work out 6 days a week. That's why I don't drink a ton of caffeine really at all, but specifically
or alcohol.
At night, alcohol before bed, rather day drink, things like that. So, because man, when you get good sleep and consistent good sleep, and you know how that feels.
Do you know how many dominoes that knocks over when you get good sleep?
Yeah.
Like you're way less likely to be
have cravings,
processed food. You're less likely to be just stressed during the day. If you don't get a lot of sleep and you chronically just don't get sleep, you live in like this just permanently stressed state, right? You never ever really come down out of that if you're always not rested. So getting sleep, I think, is probably the most important thing that we can do.
Yeah.
And
All
use
right.
your carbs to get some sleep.
Carbs and sleep.
And sleep.
That's how it works. That's how carbs can improve our sleep. Serotonin, cortisol, these hormones.
Serotonin.
Big factors. All right. So we appreciate you for listening.
Yeah. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.
As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.